Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're looking at a couple of budget knives from Amazon. Actually, someone sent these to me to check out probably 6 months to 8 months ago. These are from a company called Reger Knife. All right, and essentially what these are, there's two different models here. This one I think is the K10, and then there's a K12. This sells for $17, that sells for $15. This one has a couple more tools than that one. That one's also assisted with a flipper, whereas this is not assisted. Okay, just a manual knife. All right, you can see tanto blade on here, and then there's some tools integrated into, the frame. So this kind of reminded me a little bit of the Spyderco Clipitool or Clipitool. One of my favorite multi-tools. Some sentimental value because my parents got it for me for Christmas. It's something that I was looking for a long time. And I use it. I use it all the time. It's actually a really fun, cool knife. I believe I did a video on that before. If you haven't seen it, there's two versions of the Clipitool. One is kind of a rescue version, which also has a hook, which this one has in here. Okay, basically like a strap cutter. And then I don't have that one. That's the rescue version. I have the other standard version, okay, which just has a different variety of tools. So basically, these are just some cheaper multi-tool knives, okay? So the main function is a folding knife, but you do have those little tools that are integrated into it. So it's a, interesting concept. There's plenty of knives out there that are like this, although, they're not super popular or super common. Most times when you have a multi-tool, it's like a dedicated multi-tool. So anyway, when the person sent these, they said, really wanted you to check them out. I thought they were nice budget knives, so I gave them a shot. I only used this one, all right, and I didn't use all the tools. As I go through it, I'll talk about it a little bit. Now, before I get into the knife, let me show you the packaging here. And that packaging is actually pretty nice for, a cheaper knife. All right, so we get a box. We have a little paperwork. This is what's going on. Those are the tools, all right. You got specs in here. I really do like this breakdown. I think pretty much every knife should have something similar to this. All right, just a simple little piece of paper, just has all the information you would want to need to know about it. All right, so there it is. That explains a lot right there. All right, and then you also get a little carry pouch, which is all rolled up in the side here. That's interesting. I haven't seen this packaging like this before. All right, but we take off the little rubber band. We have our, kind of branded silk bag. It's not really silk. I guess it's, I don't know, it feels like one of those sport materials, like a waterproof type material. So that's kind of interesting. You know what I mean? I don't really foresee, to be honest, anyone who's getting a cheaper knife like this. I mean, people who are getting these knives are using these knives. These are not really collector's knives. I think it's kind of cool that some of the cheaper knives come with stuff like this, but when you get these accessories like a carry pouch, which is honestly nicer than the knife, it doesn't make sense to me, because anyone who has this knife, it's going to be clipped to your pocket or sitting in a tackle box or, a utility drawer or something like that. You're probably not going to put it in this very nice pouch, all right, and store it away like this with your, collection of expensive knives. I just don't see that happening. So although it's kind of cool, to me, it almost seems like a waste, unless you're using the bags for other things. Okay, I do know plenty of people who use knife bags and pouches and all kinds of accessories that come with knives for other purposes. But anyway, so that's that. That's the packaging. All right, packaging obviously is the same on the other one here. The only difference is that this one, like I said, has a couple different features. All right, let's get the boxes out of the way. So this one is the K12. So this is 15 bucks. This has a flipper and it's also assisted. All right. As far as flipping out, again, I didn't use this one for testing, but I did play with it a little bit, and I would say 1 out of every 20 or 30 flips, it didn't open enough to engage the lock fully. Okay, so it's kind of like I pushed it, and I didn't really, use much force, and it would look like it almost came out, but it wasn't engaged. Okay, the lock was not totally engaged here, so it was able to just close it. Okay, so you can see even here, it looks like it's open, but it needs a little bit of extra force to actually engage. All right, so the spring in here, although it's, pretty strong, it's just not, I don't know, 100% consistent. Okay, just something I noticed just playing around with it 2 or 3 times after, who knows, 70, 80, 100 times slipping it in and out, opening and closing it, that I had an issue where it didn't lock up totally, okay? So yeah, that's the flipper version. So if you happen to like, the idea here, but you do like flippers, there's that option. But you can see this only has 2 of those pull-out tools. All right, one is a strap cutter with, I have to zoom in for this. It's like, it's supposed to be, I believe, a Phillips head screwdriver, but the cuts on it are so cheap. I have to zoom in even further to show you the detail here. All right, the cuts on this, it's horrible. It's like, you can see it's almost like a flathead, and then they're supposed to take out more metal here, so there's like a tiny little nub there. There's a little bit on the back there. It's kind of hard because it's so tiny, but it's probably the worst micro Phillips head screwdriver I've ever seen. Also, you can see just kind of the rough cut on this tool. So I mean, these are cheaply made tools. Okay, these are Chinese made, and you know, there's plenty of cutlery today that's coming from China that is actually really nice, very high quality stuff. This is definitely not that. This is the same run-of-the-mill cheap Chinese cutlery that you have seen for many, many years. Okay, so like I said, these tools are kind of rudely or crudely cut. And then the other tool there is the combination flathead screwdriver and bottle opener. All right, so I would consider that little nub to be completely useless. The actual strap cutters, let me actually give you a quick demo here on both of them, because I found that with some 550 cord, it was not that good. This is the only one I tested, so let me actually test this one first. All right, got some 550 cord here. All right, so I mean, the idea, there's just a small angle cut blade in here. It is sharpened at both sides. Sometimes it is chisel ground, but this one's not. Okay, it's V ground. Here we go. So I'm putting some pressure on here. I'm yanking. I'm really cranking on this. I actually have to get more of a grip. That really took a lot of force. So you can see my fingers there, okay, to prove how hard I'm actually pulling on this. That's too much force, okay, way too much force. That is not effective, okay. It's actually extremely uncomfortable to use. I've never used this one. I can't imagine why that would be better. It's actually even smaller. I'm gonna try a little bit here, but I'm not gonna. Oh, that one actually worked a little bit better. Let's try that again. First time using this particular strap cutter. Okay, that one works better. That's more effective. Let's take a look at these next to each other again. Let me zoom in a little. All right, so it is a different shape. This one looks, well, it's physically bigger, but it looks like the area on the inside, it's about the same. It's just possible that it's sharper. Back it back out. So I can get this little piece here. Yeah, it works better. It's not zipping through stuff, but way less pressure. This is actually functional. I would absolutely say this is a functional strap cutter. All right, see multiple pieces here. Obviously, it's starting to dull out a little bit with use. All right, this is just, you know, cheap 8CR13 MOV steel. I don't know 100% on this, on the actual tools, but I'm going to guesstimate that whatever blade steel is on a lot of these cheaper knives, the other tools are the same quality or less. They would never put a better quality. This could be like a 300 series, you know, stainless steel or something like that. Who knows? It's sharp enough to cut straps. This one, not so much. All right, because there's about the same area inside the cutting portion where the edge is. So I'm not going to say that the design difference is what's making this one better. I think this one's just sharper. Interesting. So anyway, the tools, let me put this one back. That's, again, the K12, the cheaper one of the two. The tools on these are just okay. So taking a look again at the tools on the K10 version of this, they're just crudely made, okay? Strap cutter not working. Didn't try the can opener, although this would make a nice little scraping blade, okay? In case you, like, let's say you want to get some sticker off a piece of glass or something, like a decal on your window. You know, you can scrape that off probably pretty easily, and you could probably sharpen that up. Even if it's a soft, cheaper metal, at least you have the accessibility to sharpen that. Not a lot of people are going to be able to sharpen a strap cutter. So like the tools are they're just kind of there. They're not totally functional. And that's the problem with a lot of cheaper tools. And this is no different compared to a lot of the dedicated like plier multi-tools. When you get the cheap Chinese ones, they're like $5, $8, $10, $12. No name, just like Leatherman style knockoffs, but nowhere near as many tools and stuff. Those tools are like almost always useless. Okay, if they do work, they're not hardened steel. They're just soft metal, and even when you do use them, eventually, if you use them enough, you know, they deform, they break. They're just not good. All right, now, you know, I don't think the expectations are super high in a multi-tool that's going to cost $15 to $17. But I am telling you that it's just not good. All right, it's just not good at all. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool to have the novelty of having some tools in your folding knife, you know, and it obviously gives you more options than most cheap similar folding knives to this. But anyway, I mean, that's kind of the sell here. It's not necessarily just a knife. Just a knife it's what it is. I mean, I've had knives that are $5 that cut better. The HCR 13 MOV in this is just okay. They do come sharp, you know, when you first get them. They come sharp, so you can cut stuff. You know, but you're not going to be like super impressed after, you know, 5-10 minutes of cutting. When you consistently start using these, they start dulling out fairly quickly. HCR 13 MOV is not the worst steel in the world. I mean, it's used on some much better quality knives, but this is just mediocre. It's just kind of there. It's among thousands and thousands of other knives that are very similar. The one thing I do like about this, besides the cool bag that comes with it, which could be useful for other stuff, I love the pocket clip. I don't necessarily like the tip down, although I'm not like completely against it. I know tip up is the thing. It's been the thing for a long time. When I first got into knives, tip up was not what it is today. Half the knives out there were tip down, some were, you know, tip up. It didn't really matter. People weren't so focused on it like they are today. Now you see a knife that's tipped down, people are like, oh, they like dry heave. Where I need tip up, I have to have it. I really like this style of paddle, I would call it, because it flares out so much in the bottom. It's actually really nice. It does actually carry very nicely in the pocket. It is a deep conceal, even though you have a little bit of knife poking up on the top. But the pocket clip is, you know, one of the better parts of the knives. All right, there is glass breakers on the bottom. Have not tested those. Not sure how effective they are. I can see there's two different styles here. All right, the K12 on the left and the K10 on the right. So the K12 has, you know, this round style, very common, and the other one has, you know, more of a squared off version of that. Again, no idea. I mean, anything metal that comes to a point would probably break glass, but I doubt they're, you know, carbide or anything like that. So, I mean, you know, it is what it is. They're cheaper knives. Is it going to cut stuff? Yeah, that's the purpose of a knife. But I would think that you would be just as good getting the $4 or $5 Ozark Trail knives from Walmart as far as performance. As far as, you know, quality, it's no different. The only thing that you're getting with these is those, you know, novelty type multi-tool tools that are in the back. All right, so, you know, it is what it is. Cheap knives, unfortunately, leave a lot to be desired. There's plenty of awesome cheap knives out there. You know, as many, you know, expensive, very high quality knives that I've had in my lifetime, I can still very much get a big old smile on my face using a $5 knife or a $10 knife. Just because it's unique, or for the money, it's a decent little beater, you know. And I mean, that's why you would probably buy these. You'd buy it because of the novelty, again, of it being a multi-tool. If you're, you know, carrying your knife around a lot, but finding that you don't use it all that much, you know, and maybe, you know, maybe. I still think, you know, $15 to $17, there's other options that are better. But I want to give everything a fair shake. You know, I do a lot of, you know, more expensive knife reviews, and I always like coming back to the budget stuff. You know, there's good budget stuff, and then there's cheap budget stuff. The word cheap, I try not to use for less expensive knives because, you know, cheap could be a reflection of quality. You know, you can have something that's expensive that you say, oh yeah, it's cheap. Oh, it wasn't cheap, it was $100. Yeah, I know, but it's like not great quality, so I feel like it's cheap. So those words could be, you know, misconstrued depending on who you're talking to. To me, cheap just means it's not that expensive to purchase. You know what I mean? A $15 to $17 knife, I would consider cheap, regardless of the quality. But anyway, it's a very long-winded way of saying or confirming that these, you know, cheaper knives aren't that great. These specifically. Companies like San Remu, obviously, they've had a great reputation. There's a slew of other, you know, brands, just throwing one out there, where you can spend, you know, $7 on eBay or $15 or something and be totally happy with your knife, you know. You're not going to get the amazing steel qualities or anything like that. it's just, it is what it is. But with these, like I said, the big sell, those multi-tools. So if you're into that, yeah, it might be something you're interested in. But honestly, I think there's other ones that are much better. For $15 to $17, if you like this style of knife, just save up your money. Between $60 and $65, you can get those Spyderco Clipitools. I would Google it if you like the idea of having, you know, a dedicated Foley knife with some multi-tool functions. That's where you want to go. You want to save your money, spend, you know, 3 to 4 times as much, and just get something like that. Well, it's more like 4 to 5 times as much, but it's totally worth it. I would much rather have one Spyderco Clipitool than have you know, a dozen of these. It's just one of those things. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys happen to have any experience with these Reger branded knives, let me know down in the comment section. Just wanted to, you know, give these a shot. The second I open them, I mean, I'm very grateful for the person sending them. You know, but you guys know I always have to just keep it real. I got to be honest with you. I'm not going to, just because, you know, someone sent me these knives to say, hey, check these out, and I really don't know who the person is. It doesn't mean, you know, they're good knives. They're not. These are junky knives. And I would never choose this over the thousands and thousands of other options out there. So, you know, it's just, it's what it is. It's nothing personal. This is just my opinion. If you guys have a Reger knife and you think differently, post down in the comment section, you know. But I think this is just among a lot of those different companies out there where they're like Chinese companies, and this knife may have existed elsewhere for something else, and then they rebranded it. You're seeing that a lot these days too, where one Chinese company might slap a different name on this. You know, they might sell this knife somewhere else, you know, and call it the Outdoor King. You know, I don't know. They just make up some different names, so you have kind of like a brand recognition, you know. Or if one particular brand is not working, they'll slap a different brand on there, and someone goes, oh, I got to try this company now. Oh, I never had this brand. You know what I mean? So that happens a lot too. I will say real quick, as far as ergonomics, it's not terrible. You know, it's not the worst feeling knife. It's okay. It's not particularly extra comfortable. What you see a lot of with the cheaper knives are these liner locks. I didn't mention these, both liner locks. But you have these heavy cuts on the liner lock. This is very consistent. It's like a handful of Chinese companies out there making knives. They always do this, where you have a liner lock that sticks up way too much with too much of an aggressive or pointy jimping on it. It's just super common. I mean, since the 90s, you know, when I started collecting knives, I mean, most of my knives were like this. They're just, I don't know, it's a cheap liner lock. And like I said, I mean, I haven't done any spine whack tests or anything like this, but I would bet a very shiny penny that these would fail. I'd bet more than a penny. I'd bet probably 20 bucks, 50 bucks, maybe 100 bucks, that if I did some spine whacking with these, they would definitely fail that test, because that's the kind of quality you get, or lack of quality with this type of knife. So anyway, I don't mean to, you know, crap all over it, but hey, it is what it is. That's just my honest opinion of using this particular knife. All right, this K10 Reger knife did not use the K12, so I don't really know, but I have to assume it's pretty much the same. So anyway, that is it. Let me know your opinions down below. There's definitely a place for these knives, okay? And I'm gonna tell you who this knife is for. Probably not you watching. Anyone watching this video, probably not for you. But there's teenagers out there that like knives and they don't have a whole bunch of money, and you know, they're not really using their knives all that much. I mean, I was that kid. It's like it's a phase that a lot of people go through when you're younger. You're just like, knives are cool. I love knives. They're really cool. And then you get a knife, a cheap knife, and what do? You know, you stab it into a you know, wood stump. You whittle some branches for no reason at all, no purpose behind it. But guess what? You love that knife anyway, because you don't know the difference. That's who this is for. That's who this is for. That's the customer here, where you go, you know what, this is really cool, but you're not really using it that much, so you're not realizing how uncool it is. But as long as it makes you happy, that's what's important. Honestly, that is important. I've gone through thousands of cheaper knives when I was younger and I didn't know anything about knives, and guess what? I love them all. They all serve the purpose. So just because, you know, it's cheap and, you know, you may not like it doesn't mean it shouldn't exist. Someone out there would love it. The lack of knowledge on the knives, the lack of knowledge on the quality, you know, what do they say? Ignorance is bliss. Well, that's a perfect example of it. Someone out there could really love this knife. And trust me, there's a bunch of people out there that you could give this knife to them as a gift and they would go, that's a nice knife, because they don't know. And there's nothing wrong with that, honestly. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So anyway, those are my opinions. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. and I'll see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.